Hi there, welcome to Long Distance Review, and on this episode I'm going to look at the new album from UK anonymous collective Sleep Token, and the album is entitled Sundowning. Now I call them an anonymous collective because they've all kept their identity secret since they were formed. They're actually fronted by a masked man, I know he's a man because of his voice, called Vessel, and the rest of the identity of the band is completely hidden. Supposedly that they worship an ancient deity called Sleep, and the messages are in their music from this. I'm not going to get too deep into that side of things. I think I'll just focus on the music. The music itself is a lot of different things, let's say. There's a lot of tech metal in there, prog metal, there's a lot of soundscape work, even like gospel R&B style. There's a lot going on, but I'll get more into that as I look at the album itself. The album is their debut album, in fact. It's a 12-track album, but they have had EPs in the past. And also, we have heard all of this album already, because what they did was back in June is they released the first track off this album as a single, and then progressively and sequentially released each track in a 2-week period after, at Sundowning. There you go. So by the time November came around and the album was released, we already had all the album available to us on streaming and etc, etc. But now the album is a whole body of work. I feel it's worth looking at. So let's get into it then. It opens up with a song called The Night Does Not Belong to God, almost forgot it then, which starts very slowly and atmospherically, and seems like the focal point of it is all about Vessel's incredible voice. I won't mention his voice too much more because he has an incredible voice ranging falsettos down to a very unhinged, sort of crazy, almost a fry scream but not that far down. But it builds and builds, and then on the sort of 2.5-3 minute mark, the band sort of have this crunching riff comes in and this really interesting drum pattern work that makes, it almost has this ethereal dreamlike feel, the whole song. The whole album does, in fact. It's very, very impressive stuff instantly. And then by the end of sort of track number 3, which is a track called Levitate, I sort of realised that they have showcased more diversity, more creativity in these 3 tracks than most bands could ever achieve in a career. They have the more R&B, gospel, pop sounding Levitate, which followed the almost Meshuggah-esque crunching breakdown of The Offering.
And is that all you need to merely pretend to be falling in love with me, forgetting the agony,
But it's this juxtaposition that make this band and this album so fascinating. They flirt effortlessly between genres, shoegaze and tech metal, and sort of gospel, as I've mentioned before. But they wrap each song up in these beautiful melodies, and it's all been very meticulously thought out and constructed. They have the more minimalistic songs like Dark Skies, which just seems to showcase the incredible vocal talent he has. And then they have the more complex songs and the more band-orientated songs, let's say, like the close of Bloodsport, which showcases the talents that the accompanying band all have. Especially the drummer. I love the drum work on that last track, with the off-kilter sort of time signatures it has. And Sleep Token exists best when this whole contrast of what they do is on display. And sometimes they do it all just in one track. There's a song on here which is called Higher, which is a real album highlight for me, which has this sort of pop gospel sort of build to it, but then has this huge crunching breakdown towards the end. And they almost sound sort of unhinged. They're like an unhinged quality. They can effortlessly do great, perfect, note perfect gospel pop songs, and then also have this unhinged madness that can come sort of spewing out at points. And this contrast really is what makes Sleep Token such an incredible and fascinating band. There's a song on here called Gods, which is definitely the heaviest song on here. It's a sort of, reminds me of like Deftones at their absolute filthiest. It follows on the album 2 tracks previous to it. One was a falsetto pop song called Take Aim, and one's a much more intimate number called Give. And then Gods comes in with this complete madness of unhinged chaos. And it's the change in pace and mood that they put on this album which is incredible to look at. I think if you're a fan of even pop bands, such as like Florence and the Machines, you'll probably get something out of this. Certainly certain songs you will. And also if you're fans of the more tech-metal stuff like Meshuggah or Tool or Deftones, then there'll be stuff on here that'll pique your interest as well. There's a song at the end called Sugar, which has this sort of nightmare feel unfolding in front of you with its ominous synths. And there's a lyric on there which says, Sugar, I've developed a taste for you, which becomes more sinister as the song progresses. The album is so dense and there's so much going on here that I feel that with more and more listens you'll get the more subtle things that they're trying to get across. Each song seems perfectly put together and perfectly thought through. It feels like, especially in terms of placement on the album, which is really important to me, I think. Albums should be bodies of work. It shouldn't just be a few songs thrown together and gone, here you go. This is really thought through of exactly the placing of each song on here to make the album feel like a huge experience for the listener. And it does. By the end of Bloodsport, which is the last song on here, which has this dreamlike keys and chaotic closing to it, you feel like you've been through an experience on this album. This is a stunning work of art in my eyes. It's crossing genres effortlessly, full of beauty, emotion and madness at times. It evokes feelings and moods as it continues on its journey, which other artists can only ever strive for. I found myself at times just shaking my head thinking, the nerve of this band, how dare they put this much on one album and make it sound so cohesive and so brilliant. This is definitely an album of the year contender for me. If you've never listened to this band before and any of this, what I've said, sounds like your kind of thing, go check them out on YouTube. At the moment they're a sort of UK cult underground band, I'd say, but I think with this album they are going to be breaking out into the more conscious mainstream, let's say. Let me know what you think of it. Sleep Token, Sundowning, and I'll be back soon with another review. Thanks for watching.